Glorious devotees, welcome to another presentation on Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Ṭhakura's Sri Madhurya Kadambini, the monsoon clouds of sweetness. We now come to the fourth shower of nectar, Steadfast devotion. Introduction of Nista Bhakti. Nista Bhakti as presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus far, two types of Bhajana Kriya, devotional practice, have been described. Anesthetic, devoid of steadiness, and Nista, fixed. In the explanation of Anesthetic Bhajana Kriya, its 6 different divisions were presented, such as Utsaha Mai. Yet, following that, contrary to what might be expected, the symptoms of Nista or Nista Bhajana Kriya, steadfast devotional practice, were not examined. Rather, we turned our attention to the topic of anartha-nivritti, the eradication of impediments to bhakti. This is because it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Krishna is the supreme well-wishing friend of the saints, and hearing chanting his glories is the topmost virtue. He situates himself in the heart of those who constantly engage in hearing about him, thus destroying their amassed inauspiciousness. When all of their inauspiciousness has been virtually destroyed, Nista, through constantly serving the Bhagavat, Grantha Bhagavata, and Bhakta Bhagavata, then unflinching devotion, Naistiki Bhakti, for Uttama Shloka Sri Bhagavan, he who is eulogized by the sublime verses of Shastra, awakens within their heart. In the first line of these verses, Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, unsteady devotion, Anesthetic Bhakti, has been mentioned, and Nista Bhakti has been described afterward. But between these two types of bhakti, there is a description of anartha-nivritti. Their vast accumulation of inauspiciousness is destroyed. Abhadrani vidunoti. This statement denotes the topic of anartha-nivritti. Furthermore, the use of the words nasta prayeshu abrayeshu, as the mass of inauspiciousness is nearly destroyed, indicates that there is still a portion of inauspiciousness that has not been eradicated. Therefore, the fact that Nista Bhakti is being described now after anartha-nivritti is based entirely on the sequence presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. Some commentary on Visvanatha's presentation. In the second shower of nectar, the 2 stages of Bhajana Kriya, Anesthetic and Nista, were described. The 6 types of Anesthetic Bhajana Kriya were then elaborately delineated to the end of that shower. However, the third shower of nectar did not begin with an elaboration on the second type of Bhajana Kriya, Nista Bhajana Kriya, along with its symptoms, as one might expect. Instead, the topic of anartha-nivritti was delineated. Why has anartha-nivritti been discussed after the unsteady practice of devotion, Anesthetic Bhajana Kriya, instead of the steady practice of devotion, Nista Bhajana Kriya? Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Ṭhakura quotes 2 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that support the sequence of his presentation. In these verses, Nista is described only after an elucidation on anartha-nivritti. Shrinvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantastyo hyadbadrani vidudnoti suhritsatam nasta prayeshu abhyeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyutamas loke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Sri Krishna is the eternal well-wishing friend of the saints. Both hearing and uttering his glories are purifying. Sri Krishna situates himself in the heart of those who hear his katha and destroys all their inauspicious tendencies. By continually serving Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantha Bhagavata, or by constantly rendering service to Bhagavan's pure devotees, Bhakta Bhagavata, the inauspiciousness in the heart is almost fully destroyed. It is then that unflinching devotion, Nistiki Bhakti, to Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he who is eulogized by transcendental slokas, awakens within the heart. In the beginning of the first of the aforementioned verses, it is stated, Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana, attentively hearing and chanting the glories of Bhagavan Sri Krishna are purifying. It is to be understood that these words refer to the stage of Anesthetic Bhajana Kriya. This is because they are followed by the description Hridyantastyo Hridyadrani. After entering their hearts, he purifies them of all inauspiciousness. This statement in the first of these two verses describes the stage of anartha nivritti. We thus find that the phase in which anarthas are eradicated is only mentioned after Anesthetic Bhajana Kriya. In the first part of the second verse, it is stated, Nasta priyeshu abreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. As a result of continuously serving the Grantha Bhagavata or the Bhakta Bhagavata, anarthas are almost completely destroyed. This statement indicates that even in the stage of anartha nivritti, portions of some very powerful anarthas have not yet been exterminated. It is for this very reason that Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Ṭhakura has so logically presented the 5 stages of freedom from these anarthas, namely, partially free, eka dasa vartini, predominantly free, bahu dasa vartini, almost completely free, pratyaki, completely free, purna, and absolutely free, atyantiki. In other words, it was mentioned that even up to the stage of rati, bhava, portions of some very powerful anarthas stemming from past offenses, aparadotha anarthas, still remain. The same has been indicated in the aforecited statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. In the following verse, Srila Rupa Goswami delineates the sequence in which bhajan progresses. Adau shraddha tata sadhu sangotha bhajana kriya tato nartha nivritti styat tato nista ruchis tata. Herein, Bhajana Kriya refers solely to the stage of unsteady devotional practice, Anesthetic Bhajan, because in this verse also, the stage of Nista has been mentioned only after the stage of anartha nivritti. It is therefore logical to describe unwavering devotional practice, Nistita Bhajana Kriya, after the eradication of anarthas has been portrayed. Vishwanath continues in his Madhurya Kadambini, Nista and the symptoms of Nista. The stage of bhakti in which Nista, or Nischalata, the quality of being unwavering, has arisen is called Nistita Bhajana Kriya. Even when someone desires to daily perform the limbs, angas, of bhakti, such as Shravan and Kirtana. If he is still in the stage of being bound by anarthas, then he will be unable to make his performance of bhakti steady on account of the following 5 almost irrepressible obstacles: laya, drowsiness; viksepa, distraction; apratipati, incompetence; kasaya, bitterness; and rasavada, taste for mundane pleasure. The quality of nista, fixed determination, can only enter one's performance of bhakti after the stage of anartha nivritti, when these 5 obstacles have almost gone. Hence, we should understand that the absence of these 5 obstacles is symptomatic of nista. Some additional commentary here. Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Ṭhakura has described that the absence of these 5 kinds of obstacles, laya, viksepa, apratipati, kasaya, and rasasvada, is the sign that nista has awakened. Sri Rudra prays to Sri Bhagavan, "O Master, the fruit of associating with saints, satsanga, is the performance of bhakti yoga to you, through which a person's consciousness is blessed and becomes supremely pure. Consequently, one's consciousness is no longer distracted by external sense objects, and one does not enter into the dark cave of ignorance. At that time, a person can understand you, the absolute truth." This verse describes a sadhaka who is free from laya, viksepa, apratipati, kasaya, and rasasvada. This ends the first of 2 presentations on the stage of nista in our progressive devotional practice. Thank you so much for taking your time to view this presentation. And I hope you will return to further presentations on Sri Visvanatha Cakravarti Ṭhakura's Sri Madhurya Kadambini. Hare Krishna.